The Sixth Commandment, which is the prohibition against murder, simultaneously requires the just defense and protection of human life. The Sixth Commandment not only prohibits murder, the unjust taking of human life, but requires the just defense and protection of human life. The Westminster Larger Catechism, the Larger Catechism question 135 begins this way. It says, what duties are required in the Sixth Commandment? And the answer begins this way. The duties required in the Sixth Commandment are all careful studies and lawful endeavors to preserve the life of ourselves and others. It says the Sixth Commandment requires all careful studies and lawful endeavors to preserve the life of ourselves and others. And the writers of the Catechism put scripture references in their answers. So there's footnotes, and they have little footnotes, and you can read the scripture references that they were thinking of when they gave the answer. And at this point, the scripture that is cited is actually Ephesians 5, 28 and 29, which is a well-known verse to many of us. So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loveth his wife loveth himself. For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourisheth and cherishes it, even as the Lord the church. If you're around here very often, you've been around here very long, you know you've heard this verse lots. A man is required to love his wife as his own body. He's to nourish and cherish it. No man hated his own flesh, but he cares for it, he protects it, he defends it, he cares for it, and just as Christ does the church. And this includes then physical safety. This includes self-defense and the defense of your home. The prohibition against murder requires a man to protect the life and livelihood of his wife just as his own body. Likewise, Scripture teaches that a man that does not provide for his own household is worse than an unbeliever. 1 Timothy 5:7. This is the passage that's where the apostle is answering the question about when the church should consider taking care of widows. And so in that same passage, he says, if there's a woman who's a widow, first check and see if there's family nearby that can care for her. The first line of defense is the family. And he says, so check, because if there's family, that would be better for everyone. The family does the best job at taking care of widows, and widows they'll flourish best when they're provided for by their families. And then he says, for it's anyone who doesn't care for his own household is even worse than an unbeliever. Is even worse than a pagan. In other words, he says, even pagans know that a man's basic duty is to provide for his family. Even unbelievers know that's a basic duty of a man is to take care of his family, and that includes their physical protection. Right? If it includes food and clothing, it also includes safety. It also includes defense. It also includes protecting their lives. And if unbelievers know this, if pagans know this, how much more must a Christian man protect his own household?